Okay, we're live. We're live. So what are we gonna do today is to create an environment. Okay, so I will show you my thought process on how to create an environment. I will start from scratch, from the very beginner. If you're a beginner, I will show you the basics, and if you are an advanced user, I will show you my thought process on how I go creating environments, because it's not only like drag and drop. It looks easy, but inside there is a lot of thought on how to make the shapes right, how to put the right angle, where to put the lights, and all this art theory that is usually left behind by most tutorials, because we're teaching you how to use Unreal, but at the same time I also want to teach you how to use skills where even if you don't use Unreal, you can apply these skills to painting, to sculpting, to any other kind of visual arts. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing you have here is your viewport. Your viewport is the visual representation of how your game will look like. So the first thing you need to learn is how to move around. Just right click and you will move the camera just like that. And if you hold the right mouse click and use the W, S, A, and D, you can just fly like if it was a spaceship, right? Left mouse click, if you move around, you can also fly like it's a spaceship. Everything is a spaceship here in Unreal. And the middle mouse click, you can pan around between two axes, right? My favorite way to navigate is using the right mouse click, and then I'm using the W, S, A, and D. Just like any game, if you play games, you should be very comfortable with this. And I can just move around, and if I press Q, I can go down, or I can go up with E. Okay. The next thing is, of course, you can place objects. So you can click the green plus icon and go to basic, and then you can just go, for example, shapes, and grab a cube. You can find the cube if you move around like this, but there is a better way. You can just press F, and then you will be able to move along the cube. And if with the Alt right mouse click, you can zoom in and out. At left mouse click, you can just rotate. I can move it like this if I press one of the gizmos here. Okay, with W, E, R. Okay, with W I can move, E I can rotate, R I can scale. Notice that as I do the right screen, it's also changing, and that is because I can also change the values here, just like that. I can rotate like this. One feature that is very important when you create environments is to make sure you use this world icon. That means you're either using the world or you're using the local coordinates. So if I press the local coordinates and I move in Y axis, I will move along the face of the object, just like this direction. So I can move in Y axis, or I can just click here and moving the Y axis will be this one, the one in the world, which is the one you see here in that down left corner. So I can just click the left mouse click just to move, and I can just change between the world coordinates and the local coordinates. Okay, the snapping is just a snap. I can just change this to 500 and you will notice what it does. I will snap each 500 centimeters or units. I can go back to 10, or I can disable this to have like a lot of precision. I typically remove those when working with nature. So the same with rotate and scale I rotate without this, I can just rotate any kind of degree. And if I turn it on, I can rotate only every 10 degrees. In the right side, you have your outliner. Basically, these are all the actors that are in your scene. So if I click in this cube, you will see that you have the cube. You can also press F2 to rename this, my little cube. And you will see that the name is update. And also, you can just select here. It's actually useful if you have a lot of objects. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's start. I'm checking your comments just in case if you wanna ask something. I know a lot of people will focus on creating open worlds. Usually, it requires less thought. For interiors, you need to lay down some things and then just put your assets. For me, it's the same. In this case, I'm gonna do both. I'm gonna do an interior part and an exterior part. And I will put both nature and man-made elements so you can see what will be the difference to work with them. So let's get started. If I go to File, go to New Level, I can just choose the kind of level that I want. In my case, I don't want an empty open world because just for the sake of this demonstration, I don't want to use the world partition. So I will just use an empty level. Okay, so I will just click Create. Do not save, we don't want to save this. Now you will see this black screen. And if you're used to opening Unreal, you will think that every time it has a sky. That's not true because not every people needs a sky. For example, if you're doing an interior and you don't see the light and you don't have any windows or something, maybe you don't need the skylight and you will save resources there. So how can you create a skylight? You can just go to lights. You can just put the light here and notice that you can see any light, and that is because you don't have a skylight here. You only have a light. So if I put my shape here, you will see that the light is actually working. So if I rotate this like this, you will see that I have different shadows. This will be very important to know how to make our environments look pretty, working with lights. So if you want to add like a sky, you can just go to the sky atmosphere and you will have this. Now, there is a better way to do this. Let me just delete those and you will see that I cannot see my cube. It's like invisible, but it's actually here. There is no light, that's why it's dark. That's the way it's supposed to be. So if I go to Window and go to Environment Light Mixer, I can just create all my lights here. Kind of like creating all the sauce, right? Create a skylight, atmospheric light, sky atmosphere, volumetric clouds, and height fog. And you see that my shadows are really harsh. And the reason is my skylight is not capturing the sky in real time. So I can just click here on the sky and you have the properties here. You can go to real-time capture. And there you go. So we should be good to go. So where do you go from here? You have a bunch of options. If you're creating a big environment, you can create a landscape. It will be very, very useful to you. And if you're creating a small environment and maybe you don't need the landscape, but you can also use it because it's very easy to modify and the collisions are very precise. Okay, so we will create an environment first. I can go to landscape. In the selection mode, I have different selection modes. I can go to landscape. And here, there is a bunch of settings I can use. I can make this one number of components bigger, which means my environment will be larger. I also have the section size. If I make it really small, each quad will be super small, right? It's like tiny. As I make the quads bigger, obviously your environment gets bigger too. So I can just go for the defaults. You don't really want to make a super big world. I can make a 2x2 where I can have multiple grids inside the quads. Like, just, it will make it just much bigger, right? I don't need to do anything else, but just keep in mind I will use landmass. So if you go to edit, go to plugins, landmass, you will see that I have this on. Just click on it and you can restart the editor. I also have the water plugin, the water and the water extras. You can just click the water. You don't need the water extras. Just click on water and you should be good to go. And that's pretty much it. When you restart, you will have something like I do. You can edit layers. Let's create. And it will just create your landscape. How can you achieve good performance with nav mesh if you have a huge map? Calculate the nav mesh dynamically with the player. I'm not a programmer. I know how to program a little bit, but if Ram is here, I will let him know about that question and he can answer you. My thought will be just put the nav mesh in places where you have the gameplay. Do not put it everywhere. So that's where I will go for. But if you want to do it dynamically and all this stuff, I don't think I can answer that question for you. But I will let Ram know, because we also have a programmer here. Don't worry. Okay. So, first things first, you have layers in the left. The layers will allow you to, you know, just like Photoshop, you can have different layers where you can paint and add different things. You can do the same here. For example, I can just sculpt here. I can just click like this, and I can remove the layer intensity. If I go 0, it's like nothing happened. And I can even go -1. I will go negative here. I will just leave it on 1. Tools that I typically use are the Sculpt tool, and the Flatten tool will flatten everything. So if I go here, I will flatten this out. Very good for level design, where you want the flat terrain and you want to put houses or anything like that. That's great. Or if you want to erase things, you can also use the flat tool, just like this, to make everything flat. Awesome. Then you have the ramp. You can just click on the ramp, click on 2 surfaces, and you can move the other surface where you want your ramp to be. You can press enter and you will have a ramp. And you can go back to the flatten tool and just go do something like this. If you want to smooth this area, you can just click on smooth and smooth this area. just a little bit. Something like that. Okay, that's pretty much it. You can go and add other things. You can add like patterns, like for example, I can sculpt like this, sculpting like with patterns. I can put any texture actually if I want it. So for example, I have some megascans here. I will show you this thing just in a while. This is a content browser. I can use control space and I will have some folders. I can just go to my surfaces, like for example this one, and I can just go here and put it this, and I can just go for the blue channel. Now I can, let me just put the tool strength to something like this, and you will see that I'm sculpting based on the alpha texture that I had, which has a lot of noise. You can also change the texture to green or red. It will give me different results, right? So I can just right click, clear, sculpt. Yes, it will clear all the data. So what I want to show you is this landmass plugin where you can just sculpt your terrain and using procedural tools, which a lot of people like. So before doing that, let's add some water. Remember I told you you can go to plugin and add water? We can do the same here. We can go here to the place and type water. And you will have a lot of volumes here. I want that water ocean, so I can just drag and drop this. And wait for the shaders to compile. Okay, so here I have my ocean now. By default, it has those colors. So you see that my landscape, it's now small. You can see this was my landscape. It's not that we lost our landscape, it's just that the ocean works with splines. If you click on one of these splines, if you don't see it, press G. Like this is like you're in game mode. Press G again to get out of game mode. Make sure you press Alt 3 or Alt 4. Make sure you click on the... Where is it? There you go. Click on the spline and click on one of those splines and you can just move it like this. If you go like this, you will see that you have the same as you had before, where your landscape is like that. Typically, you don't want that, so let's just go for something like this. And of course, you can right click and add a spline here if you want. And just go and have any shape you want. Okay. Now, all this, and I will just save this because just in case, let's call a new folder called livestream. Livestream level. Okay, I can just go ahead and change this. Just like that. Okay. So what you have here is in your landscape, you also have a layer with water. So if I sculpt here, you will see that I cannot sculpt in the boundaries of this. Basically, this is my shoreline generated automatically with the landscape. So if I want to sculpt on top of this, I can just create a new layer and I can sculpt here. We just go back to the same tools we have, just like this, and I can just sculpt here if I want it. Okay, so I will just flatten this. Okay, and there you go. So that depends on what you want to do. Normally, you want to sculpt under the water so that your sculpt it's modified by the water, just like this, right? So if you go to the water body ocean, you will see that you have some, some properties here you can play with. Okay, like the curve settings, like how you want your curve. For example, I can just double click on this, and let's say I want to add a key here. I can just put something like this, and you will see that I no longer have the smooth fall off. So I can just play with the fall off. I can just delete this key and you will have, your smooth transition from the shallow water to the deep water, right? That's something you can do if you want. And also, let's try to find a way to play our game. So let's save it. If we play here, you will see that I can fly. And that's not necessarily what you want. So what I will do is to import a character. It's very easy. I can just control space. I will open my content browser. You can also go to Window and go Content Browser. Click on this. And I will show you all this thing in a minute if you don't know. I know it's very basic, but some of you may know about it. So I will just go quickly over the content browser. It's just a folder structure where you can organize all the assets that you will use in your projects. That's pretty much it. Okay, so if I control space, I can have the floating window of the content browser here, which is very comfortable. So I can go to Add and go to Feature or Content Pack. Then I can go for a third-person mode. Add to project. And it will come with all the necessary assets for my character. It will come with the character. It will come with the game mode, with the enhanced input. So now if I play the game, nothing happens. And that is because I haven't told the game that we need to use this character. So it's very easy. We just go to the world settings and go to game override, and I can just go for the third-person game mode. Now when I play, you will see that I have my character here. I can just go here. I can go over the thing that I sculpt. And I believe there was a bug where you cannot go underwater. So I can just walk like Jesus. And that's not normal. It shouldn't be like that. There was an error with the volumes of the water. And I'm not sure if I can fix this, but I can try. I can go to the collision presets, and it shouldn't be, it can be like, I don't know, overlap. And let's see if that helps. Okay, that helps. I can go under the water now. So let's play from here. You notice that I play where my camera is. I will spawn like a Fortnite or Call of Duty, like fall from the sky. That's usually not what you want. So there you go. Once you see that once you are inside the water, you have like a volume here, kind of like to simulate how it looks underwater. So if we want to start our game, we can go to the green plus icon, go to basic, and put a player start. Now by default, the arrow will point at here. If you play, your character will start at the ocean, and that's okay. But I want it to look like this. I can move it up, press End, and by pressing End, I can snap the objects into the ground. That's something we will do a lot. So let's go back. It's our layer 1. Let's just clear the sculpt here. Okay, so I want to add some mountains or something. So instead of sculpting like this, I can just go on and add some blueprints. So if I go here to blueprint, I can select the blueprint brush, and I can just select the custom brush landmass, and nothing happens. That's because I need to click here, and once I click it, you will see that the shaders are compiling. If you don't see anything, don't panic. There you go. So now my shaders are like this. I can just move things around. And basically I have like a pyramid, right? Now, there is a bunch of things I can do with this. So what I can do is to play with the settings. First, you have the basic ones. It's like you can invert the shape. Like you will have very weird results. You can go for the alpha blend, like minimum, maximum, or additive. Alpha blend works most of the cases. You can cap the shape, and with that, it doesn't look like, but I have pretty much cap the shape. I don't have any pointy shape, or I can just change the fall off. For example, 30 or 35 or 40. If I go 90, it will be like 90 degrees, which it may or may not be something you want. The material, you don't really need to play with anything of that. I can go to static mesh, not really. Spline mesh, paint layers. Let's just go for the effects. First is the blur. So you can see it's very sharp. And if I press like 100, that's a lot, right? So I can just put like a tree, and it will smooth everything out. I can go to the curl noise and change the curve size like this, and the strength like this. Just play with those two values. Just don't be too extreme, like put like 5, otherwise you will get results like this. Okay, what else we can do? We could change the curves, but we're not touching that. Displacement can be very important. So we can go for example, let's put a high value like 248, and you will see that I'm using this tiling noise, right? I can move this up. Okay. And I can also change the noise. Remember, we had some noises here. For example, I can use my rock cliff. And I can use the channel, the blue channel. And I will use that cliff. I can also go for this one. And I will just have different results. And of course, with a bigger resolution, you could like make things a little bit better. You can change the tiling of this, and this will basically give you a lot of flexibility, because if you move the spline, you will also move the noise with you, just like that. And just go for something like this. And then you can add the spline point here. Or you can delete the spline point if you don't like it. If you want to move everything, just make sure to go to the outliner and you can click on the landmass. You can just put it here. You can leave it like that. Or if you want, you can scale it. And you will have something like this. Now the good thing about this is that I can just alt click, and with alt I will duplicate an object and I will have something like this. And I can make this one bigger. And I can add another spline point here if I want. And that's pretty much what you can do with this. Other things, smooth blending, like the inner, you can put 2000 or 2000 in the outer. You will see that it smooths out very nicely. 2000 is for the app. You don't really need it for now. You can do the same here. You can put 2000. And you will have a much better result with this. Okay. So what else you can do? You can put some splines here. So if I go to water, I can go to the river, and I can just drag a river here. And you will see that my river is like this. I can see the direction of the river because last time told me it was in the wrong direction. So this is going this way. So let's just put it all the way here. And you can see, like, it's kind of blending, but it can do a better job. So if you want, you can go put the water on top, and it will, if you put the water on top, it will adjust everything that you have sculpted, which is typically what you want, really. You can move this thing down. Let's move this spline. And it will affect the environment. Okay, I can just put a river across the whole environment. I can just alt click. Something like that. And I can just put a lake. So I can just go to the green plus icon, put on water, and just put a lake here. And just by doing that, I will have my lake just like this. Now I can change this. I can add spline. There is also an option to add some noise into this. So if I go to water, not to water, let's see, it should be on the landmass. I'll have a quick look. And type noise. Yeah, you have the core noise just as the mountain, so you can type 5. That's too much. You can play with something like that. And you can do the same with the river. You can type river here. And you can change the core noise to 0.3. Something like that. That's very nice. If you put the noise, it's much more natural. So I highly encourage you to do that. Let's play with the file 2. Not much difference. If you put 1, that's too much. So let's put 3. Let's put 3 here. Should be good enough. So let's try and play our game. We are too far from our river, so let's go to the player start. Click here, and now we can just move it. Something like that. Let's just play. And now I have the same issue with the volume. I noticed that this thing it's like floating. I can fix this very easily. I can either put this one here, this one down. There, for some reason it doesn't go down. I can just create a new one, and I can just sculpt here, just like that. I can smooth things out, and just like that I can just fix this part. If I want to sculpt, let me just go to the brush size very low, and I can just go and do something like that if you want it. Yeah, it looks okay. So if I go to my river, I can do the same for the collision, because it was very weird. It used to work pretty nice before. Yeah. Let's go to overlap. And then go to my lake. And go to overlap. And that's it. You can just play here. Make sure our player start it's on the top. Now we can play. Now we have our river here. It's great. I don't know why our post-processing is not working well. It's always something you can put by yourself, but it will be nice if it worked out of the box here. For sure. Okay. So these are pretty much the basics of landscape. If you want to modify the water, you can go here. You can go to the ocean first and find the material it's using. It's here. Let's check material. Yeah, this one here, not this one. That one was the LOD. So if you go to the water material, it will be the water material ocean. You could, if you click on this, you will have something like this, okay, where you have a lot of options. You can try and change those. For example, let's close this. I can go and generate foam. Let's see how this works. So there's a lot of settings here. There you go. Caustics. Maybe that's something you want. Yeah, it's very pretty. You can do the same for this, for the river. Absorption. If you don't know what the settings does, you can just change the color to see if it changed. Okay. So if I go black, what happens? It looks like black, I guess. Let's go here. I put purple, like contaminated water. Okay. If I put this, you will have something like dark ocean. Oh, what happened? It stayed like that. Go back. there you go. Foam scattering, not really. There you just go to the water opacity mask. We can put like 0 to see what happens, or 100, or minus 1000. Nothing really. So what else? I think this one changed a lot. Yeah, this one changed a lot. So you can put something. You can put something darker if you want. Otherwise, maybe you feel like you're in Cancun, which is very nice. So you will have that kind of water. Maybe. I won't judge you if you want to have that color. It's very nice. So you see that there is a discrepancy between the colors of my ocean and this, and that is because you also have the HLOD water. So make sure you have the same settings here. For example, if you go here and put 1, it should change. Not exactly sure. But anyway. The level of water. I believe you can just move it. If I let me try. No, it's very evident, this thing. I should go back to what it was. Let me see if I can revert these changes. Oh no, just leave the ocean foam. Yeah. You can enable waves too. I think should be enabled by default. Yeah, it is enabled by default. Anyway, we can do the same here. We can put our caustics. The lake will have pretty much the same properties, just with, you know, different values. So you can just click on caustics. And that's very nice. And you can do the same for the river. The river, you have materials, river to ocean, river to lake. You want the river one? So the river one, you can just enable caustics. And let's see how it looks like. Yeah, I can think about doing a blockout for another live stream. But I mean, this is technically a blockout. It's just using landscapes. Oh, that's great. All right. And doing environments takes a long time. No wonder I do those very, very little. Let's chill out for a bit. Let me just read the questions. I believe it has reflections. You just need to play with the material settings. By default, you will always have reflections using Lumen. Which software knowledge do I need to enter into game industry? That will really depend on your role. Not everyone needs to know how to use the engine, but it's a very nice skill to have. If you're going into the 3D world, which is what I did when I was working in Ubisoft, you need to use like 3ds Max or Maya or Blender. Each company will have its own preferred method for, each company will ask you for, hey, we use Max here, so your art test will be done in Max. So that's what they will do. So you just check the software that each company is using. It's very simple. If you check for the job requirements, they will tell you, oh, you need to be very good with 3ds Max, or it's like, okay, then you know which software they're using. Other than that, I think the software is pretty standard across the industry, using Photoshop, using Substance Painter or Substance Designer. It's the standard now, so you should check into those. How can you change the level of water? I'm not sure. Maybe you can move it, or you can also move the landscape, right? You can move it up and down, and that's it. Level change. So for example, if I just sculpt here and I keep sculpting and then the water level has changed from this perspective, right? That's something you can do. As you can see, it's a lot of work to do environments. I will do them from time to time, but do not expect to have this kind of live stream very often. Because if I want to make an environment, I will do it for my own game so that I can use it, right? But for this time, it's okay. Okay, so I'm having some neck pain. Let's continue. Let's continue. Let's add some materials. It's gonna be very easy. What is a material? It's like a painting you put inside your surfaces, either 3D models or landscape or whatever. So you can put textures, you can put pretty much anything. So what you can do is go to content browser. Let's go to the folder we created called livestream. And here we can create a material. So right click and go to material and then m_landscape. So if you double click on this, you will see that you have this window here. Now, landscapes work a little bit different. So I will show you basically how this works. I can right mouse click and move around, and I can just right click and create some nodes. You can also have your palette where you can see the hotkeys here. Like for example, panner with P, you can just drag and drop, or you can press P and while holding it, press the left mouse click and you will have it. Okay. Same with texture coordinate, something we will use very often. So for now, I will just show you how to put a color. I will press 3 and click, and it will give me a constant 3 vector. You can also type here like constant, and you have the constant 1 vector, constant 2 vector, 3 and 4. So for example, I want to have a green landscape, something like this. I can just go here. By default, my landscape won't have anything because I haven't applied the material. So I can just go to landscape here. And inside my landscape, you have the material. I will just create a material instance for now. Create a material instance, just like this. and I will call it mi landscape. Material instance is something that, just like you saw with the water, I can just change the properties there. So I will put this thing here, and it should change. Yeah, it's the Hulk Island. Pretty ugly, but I can go back to my landscape and right click and convert to parameter, and this will be my color, for example. And I can just leave it like that. So what I can do, Control space to open my content drawer, and then click on this. I can change the color. So if I move this around so you can see it, I can just click here, and I can just press one of this, and you will have a little bit of a nicer color for your landscape. Now the thing with landscapes is that you don't want to go for the traditional route like this, where you can just add some color on it. You can. A lot of people think you can only paint. You can add some things. You can add textures into this. For example, I can just go to my Megascans, go to surface, and I will show you how I add those in a minute. I can just go here and drag this, and I can just put this thing here, and you will see that I have my texture here, and it works. So you can overlay this kind of textures on top of everything you have painted, so you can have more variation. Okay, so let's delete this, and what we're gonna do is to add some textures first. So you can go add and go to Quixel content, and here you will have a huge library of different assets that you can use. Oh wow, this one looks really nice. Let's go here. Oh, that's very nice. You may want to do another tutorial on using these ones. It will be very, very cool. But anyway, let's go back to home. If you see here, you have a lot of assets, not only materials, but also you have assets and 3D plans. And you can just go to surface, and you can type here like sand, for example. And you can just try to look for something you want. For example, this one, or this one, or this one. For example, I can just download this. You can check the quality here. Medium quality should be good enough for textures. So you can just download. You also have this rocky sand. You can try. And once it finished downloading, you will see like a green check here. So you can just click plus. And there you go, now you have your material here, which is great. Let's add another one. Click add. And there you go. Now you have your materials. I did the same for a bunch of those. If you want to see which ones I added, I can go to local. Here you will see my whole library. I added this rocky ground, dirt ground, and this one, and maybe some rock cliff, I believe. Yeah, I added the rock cliff. So let's start with that. If you want to add a layer, let's check which one you want to add. Rocky ground, that could be. Layer rock. Let's check. Not very interesting. Dirt ground. Okay, let's go for... Okay, let's go for this one. I can just grab all of this and put it into my landscape. And the first thing you need to do when you drag textures, especially with landscapes, because you will have a lot of them, you can go here and go to shared wrap. And what this will allow you is to have more textures in your in your material, if you go here, you will have texture samplers from 4 to 16. You can put much more than that if you use the warp node. So how can you use this? Well, the first thing is you need to paint this texture. So we're gonna go and put a landscape layer blend. By default, it's not gonna have anything. If I click plus, you will see I have a layer name. I can put layer 1. A pro tip for you, you don't want to rename this as, for example, rock or grass or anything, because in the future you may change what the layer texture is. And if you want to make a master material where you can have snow material and sand and different biomes, then the layer name won't make any sense where it says rock but it paints snow, right? So that's why it's very simple to keep it with numbers, like layer 1. It will be layer 1 always. So you can just go here and put it on the base color. And if you apply it, your landscape will turn black. I see a lot of comments, especially from my island tutorial video, where a lot of people is like, hey, my landscape turned black, I don't know what to do. Just go to the landscape, and if you go to paint, you will see that you have target layers here. And it should show because we just create the material here. So if it doesn't show, the fix is very simple. You can just create a new level and then open this. Okay, so now when you go to landscape, you will see that you have your layer 1. I can go, click this arrow icon, and I can just click weight blended, and I can just click save. It will just save in the default folder where your map is. Inside there will be a folder with the layer info. If you click on this, you will see these are some of the properties you can change for each layer if you want to go deeper. But for now, you will see that it looks like a solid color, but here I can actually see this thing here, just like that. Okay, so what's the next thing you need to do? You can press U to create a texture coordinate, or you can go tab and press texture coordinate. And you can press M to multiply or multiply like this. And you can just multiply this and put a constant. Constants are very common, so you can press 1, 2, 3, even 4 to have different constant values. In this case, we want to multiply this UV tiling by 1 for now. I can convert this to a parameter and say landscape UVs, or just UV tiling, global UV tiling. There you go. So if I connect this here, apply, nothing will change because I haven't changed my UV tiling, but I can go for something much smaller. If I go 5, you will see that it's become small and small. So I need to go the other way around. I can go for 0.1, and maybe that's too big or too small. We will see. Shift 1 to go out of the game mode. And let's see. This looks like a decent size to me. It looks decent. I feel it's okay. Now you see that we don't have any properties, just the color. And it's quite non-realistic. And the reason is we're not using the other textures. Now I can just copy and paste this and put this thing here and go to the normal and hit apply, or let's just hit apply here. And now you will see that you have your mod much better, right? So this will turn out very ugly. It will become a spaghetti if we continue to do this for all the textures that are in our environment. So my personal way of doing this is to create a material from this. So I will right click and type make material attributes, and I will go here to the base color. This is the normal map, which will give me the lining information detail. And just go here, and here I can just connect this texture coordinate here. The red one will go to ambient occlusion, the green one will go to roughness, and I can just put this thing here. Now this one will be my height, but I won't use it for now. So what I can do, once I apply, you will see that now I have this. And now I have my material here, but my material is not, it's only connecting the base color. And what I want to do, I can either break material attributes, and I can connect those just like this. Or I can do something much more simple, where I can just click here on any part of the graph. I can use material attributes, and now instead of connecting all of those, I will use a material attributes that come by default here. So when I hit apply, it's still the same. So great, now that we have our first texture, we can add more. It will be very easy. Let's go here and press C and comment layer 1 ground. Let's go for another texture. Let's go for this. We can go for the sandy gravel. So let's grab this and then go for shared wrap. You could put this as a parameter if you want it. Actually, I will do convert to parameter. This will be my layer 1 albedo. This will be my layer 2 layer 1 normal, and this will be my layer 1 mask. The same thing can be here. Convert to parameter layer 2 albedo, layer 2 normal, right click, layer 2 mask. Let's Control C, Control V, and actually we're gonna do something different. We're gonna go here and put a name, and I can put a add name rewrote declaration node. I can just click on this, and then I can just put my global UV tiling. And now what I can do is to type global UV tiling, and I can connect those like this. So instead of this being here, I can have something like this. And now this is like a wireless node where I can just connect this, and this will be the same as connecting from here, which will make my graph more organized. So I can just make material attributes and connect those here. And now I can just add a new layer called layer 2. And I can go here and connect those. Okay. Now I can go to landscape. And I can just add a new layer here. If I don't see it, you know, quick fix, new level, empty level, open recent levels. And now when you go to landscape, you will see the layer 2. Create. And now what we can do, now what I recommend is to paint on layers where it's a base one. Because if you have different layers where you have your painting, it will become a mess. When you paint on other layers and then you want to fix something, you want to paint on top of another layer and it won't work. So I always recommend to paint on the base layer. If you really want to have like another layer, you can do this, but just keep in mind it can get really confusing. So if I want to paint here, I can just paint in this area. I can just paint something like this. Paint the same here. I can do the same for these ones. With shift click, you can erase. Oh, there you go. Now we have a little shoreline for us, which is good. That's nice. The size looks good to me. Okay, so what else you can do? Well, you can keep adding layers, but I want to fix the blending here. And we're gonna do that by using the height map. If you go here to the mask, you will see that you have a height map here. And this will serve as the layer information for, you know, for your blending modes. So what you can do is, instead of putting the weight blend here, you can go to height blend. And in the height blend, you can put the one before if you want, which will take this as, you know, it will take it like it's a mask, where the black parts won't have any layer and the white parts will have. So what I can do is to go here and put a cheap contrast. And here I can press 1, right click, convert to parameter, and put height contrast. And I can just put 1 for now. And this will be, I will put a name rewrote again. This will be my layer 1 height. So I can put my layer 1 height here. You can also put the layer 2 if you want, but just for the sake of trying things out, we can just put it here. And now with the height blend, you will see that something's happening here, right? Like it's not entirely smooth anymore, which is great. So let's go for our material instance. Let's go for the material instance, and then we can just change the height contrast. For example, I can put 2, I can put 10, I can put 50. If I put 0, you won't have any contrast. If I put -50, you will have the contrast, but in reverse, right? Put 50. Even if I put too high values, it won't work. So I can just play with 5. Looks like a decent number. That's great. So now you can paint even better, because when I go here, I can go to my layer info. I can decrease the size of this. I can just paint a little bit here. And you will see that you're actually painting with the height information, which is nice. You can shift click, and little by little you will be able to paint the surface to your liking, which looks much better in my opinion. So let's add the different textures that we need to add. So let's see, we want the, I guess we add the sandy gravel first. Let's close this. Yeah, sandy gravel was added. Rocky sand. You may want to add another variation here. So let's go to the landscape, and this is, make sure you use shared wrap. Don't forget about this. This is very important. So go here and go to layer 2 and the ground. Sandy ground. There you go. I can just copy and paste this. I don't need to do it again. This time will be L3 albedo, L3 normal, L3 mask. I can just go here and L3. I can go to my landscape, add another one, layer 3, put a height. I can just do the same thing here, but for this, I can go here, and this one will be my layer 2 height, and I can put it here. So I can put my layer 3 and my layer 2 here. And let's add another one just so we don't restart the level over and over. Remember, this will need to be shared wrap. Control C, Control V. This will be my L4. Go back to check this one. This one, I'm not really digging it. Yeah, this one for sure. We want some rocks here too. So let's put oh, sorry, I didn't change the albedo of this one. I just put the rock here. Is it the rocky ground? No, it's not. It's the rock cliff. Let's put the rock cliff here. And for the normal, also put the rock cliff normal. And for the mask, we will put the rock cliff mask. Oh, sorry, it was in the layer 3. It's okay. It's okay. You just change this name. Cliff. But the problem is now when I update this, you will see that I have a different texture here, which is not what I want. So let's revert this very fast. Sandy gravel. Yeah, I was changing here and then I my bad. There you go. So normal. Layer 3 normal will be my rock cliff. And layer 3 mask will be this one. I don't know why it looks like this. There you go. Apply. That will be my layer 3. Layer 4. Layer 4 albedo. Layer 4 normal. Pro tip here: the more texture you have, the more variations you will be able to create. So just keep that in mind. Let's check this ground. Not much difference. Check this one. This one could do. This one could do. So let's let's go here and put, I believe it's this one, yeah. Put this one here. This one here. And this one here. And now we just need to create a mask and the layer 4 blend. This will be layer 4. This will be height blend. We will copy this and put it here. Layer 3 height. And now we can just connect this one here. Layer 4. And then layer 3 height. Okay, so now that we have this, we can open a new level. Start. And now we can go here, go to landscape, and add the layer information. There you go. You got the layer information. You can go here and let's paint something. So let's go up the brush size. We can paint the scene like this. You can just increase the size. And if the colors don't match, we can always change the color either in the material or in the texture. And then let's check this one. Let's remove it. The layers updating, preparing shaders. So strange. Am I using the same texture here? Try trumpet mud. Oh, I am. My bad. Let's change the texture to something. Let's see how it goes with this. Now you don't need to change here. You can always use the material. Yeah, I kind of not like it that much, so I will use the layer rocked. So instead of changing here, I will just change it in the material. So I will just go to my folder, live stream, go to material instance, and then I can just change here to anything I want. Mega scan surfaces, material instance, I believe rock layer. Should be this one, right? Yeah, rock layer. Yeah, it's okay. I can just paint here if I want it. I can just go back here. And if this is too green, it's very simple. You can just change the material instance, or you can go to the rock cliff and you can just change the saturation here to 0.5. And that will be much better. You see that the color actually It's very, very important for your stuff. Okay, guys, let's have a break. We're almost 1 hour. We have a long way to go. Very long way. We'll go through the questions. Live stream blockout. In the future, I will do it. I think I already answered that one. How about work with different height map layers? I'm not sure what you mean. If you mean like the texture information from the paint layers or the landscape information from the landscape. The new procedural stuff, we have tutorials on it. I will put a link in the description when I finish the video, or you can just browse our channel. We have quite a few tutorials on it where you can quick start your journey in using the procedural stuff. So make sure to check it out if you are interested in learning that. I painted foliage grass and it disappears when I look at it. That's very weird. It's hard for me to answer this kind of questions here. It's a lot of factors. I'm not sure exactly what it could be. Do you also teach individual people? No, but we do have a group, a private group for the people who take our action game course. So if you are interested, going to unfgames.com, there you will check our action game course if you want to create a game from scratch. It's a great course. It has step-by-step tutorials on how to create a game from scratch, and you can try the first lesson for free if you want. In addition to that, you will join a group where we can give you feedback there. You can share your project with us. You can have feedback, and also a lot of live streams that we don't share here are also there, which cover topics, more and more complex topics, and very useful for your game development career. So just check it out. Can you add sound to the water? Of course, you can just add sound to any kind of surface. You just need to add the sound actor. Yeah, if you want to create a RTS games, we have a tutorial, 11 hours on how to create a game with RTS. The action game is, I mean, we use an action game for example, but the principles apply to any kind of game, of course. The programming, how to start the level, how to block out the level, how to finish a game, basically. It's now on early access, that's why it's cheaper than it should be. But once it's on Steam, it will raise the price. But it's okay. I mean, if you're just learning out, don't go to don't commit to that yet. You can just go to our free tutorials. They're great. They have a lot of information, and you can learn a lot from there too. Split the river into multiple placements. That's a good question. I think I will just go about adding another river here. Let's try it out. See the flow of this. Let's just try it out like this. Yeah, just like this. And you can see that because my water is like that on top of the landscape, you will have things like this, which is maybe something you want. Is it going up? Oh, it's going up. I see the comments coming. Last time I did something like that, and the people were like, why the water stream is flowing up and not down? Can you change the direction of the water? It should be inside the material. So you can either rotate this and that's it. Now that we have this, I actually like it, so I will just go and move this thing like this. And I will put a noise 0.2, 0.1, something like that. Yeah, definitely doable. You can do it. You can go here, and if you see like water here, that's why, I mean, these tools are great, but you can also go and fix this kind of stuff yourself. You go to Sculpt and go to Layer 2. You can just start sculpting on top of this. Sorry, not flatten. I should use the sculpt. There you go. And you can also use like erosion. You can reduce the threshold, and you will have much more natural result. Just like that. And you can do the same here. I actually like this mode a lot, especially when there is lining. A lot of erosion will make your environment look much better. Like here, for example, I can increase the brush size, and I can just go through erosion here. Or just here. Also in this part. And you can just sculpt here for parts that are showing the water a little bit. And that's it. Water with Niagara. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how things are going. I wouldn't just wait for features like this to come up and wait your own game. If I mean, that would be nice if everything will be available. But think about it, a lot of old games were made by using pretty old software, and you still see the games that very old Street Fighter, Sonic, Mega Man, whatever. They didn't have the tools you have today. It was a lot of work, a lot of technical work. And it, of course, more technical work will stop you from actually having your idea prove that, hey, like this is very nice, but I don't know how to make it. And right now you have a lot of tools, so I highly encourage you, even if like, oh, you know, I'm gonna wait until you can have procedural stuff like this to create your game. You can just start now. And if games like those were made like many years ago, you can also think of different ways of creating your own game. Oh, clear paint. Oh, this is what I mean when I shouldn't paint here. I should always paint here, otherwise I will have problems. Just like this. Just like this. There you go. Okay, we are 1 hour and a half. Let's do this. We can make it. Where do you go from here? A lot of people start adding materials, adding textures, and a lot of things, and they really don't know what to do. So this is where meshes come very handy, because landscape won't really solve all your problems. It will solve some of them, like collision. When you play, you don't need to worry about collisions, right? It will solve the big shapes, but if you want to have more interesting shapes and this kind of stuff, it will be a good idea to just, it will be a good idea to just put some meshes and replace the landscape, which is what we will do. So if I go to bridge, you can just browse through here and type rock, and you will see a bunch of rocks. There are many things you can find here. I like this sandstone terrain that you can just put in the background. I won't download it because I don't want to mess up with the streaming. Or actually, maybe just the medium quality. It's okay. It will be like very low quality. And if I click add, I can go to my assets. I can go to static mesh. If you don't see these filters, you can go here and you can just check any filter you want. By default, I use a lot texture, static mesh, material, this kind of stuff. So where is our, there you go. I think it's this one. Yeah, and this should be good enough for background. So if I go here, you will see that you have a very interesting background here. And you can do the same. You can rotate this. And from this angle, you will see that you have your background. And it's just so nice because backgrounds are highly underestimated, especially when people start doing environments. The reason is a lot of people focus on the things that are close and not so much on the things that are in the distance. So you can just play with the shapes here. You can mix them if you want. And you can just rotate those, put it there. Just put them like this. And just by having that, you will feel that your world is actually much bigger than you thought. You go here, you can go for something like this, then make something very big, like very, very big. That's great. So doing this kind of stuff is very important because you need to have the background in your project. Otherwise, it will just feel like you have a game, not a real world, right? Okay, so just like I did with this, I did the same with all these assets here, these rocks. So we're gonna use these rocks and see what we can create. So let's go control space and let's go for static mesh and let's see what we can create. Let's put this one here. And at this point, I don't want the snap here. Okay. What I want to do is to scale this up in a way that I have full freedom. Just like this. Now, what about the landscape? Well, you can blend this landscape with this. You can still go for something like this and go for local and just rotate it like this if you want. And you can scale this like this. And this asset may not be the best example, so I will just go for another one. This one is really nice. So you can just go here and use this asset. Now, what you want to do with these assets are basically you want to create like interesting shapes. For example, like this. You want to start very big. So if I go here, I will just go and put this asset here. And I will do the same here. And I can just rotate this. I can alt click and rotate. And basically put things like this, where I can just replace this landscape with some meshes here. Something like that. And you can see that as soon as I do that, like my terrain actually looks much better now, right? Let's try to use the same asset over and over until, you know, we can. That's pretty much the rule for doing level art. You want to reuse as much as possible these assets until you really feel like you need more variation. I can just go here and let's try another one, maybe this one. Something like this. So you can play with this like this and move this thing here. Just so that you have something. You can scale this up and down. When you rotate stuff, make sure your assets are in the same direction as your, you know, in the same flow of the landscape, right? Like this one, for example, is not a very good example. So I can just go ahead and try another one. For example, this one. I could try to like avoid this landscape completely and go for something like that. Maybe that's something I want. I can try. Let's see if it works. Maybe not. Maybe not. Like if I go here, I want to check the light. By the way, Control L to change the direction of the sun. It could work, so let's keep playing with it. Go here. And we can go and Control C. To be honest, I don't know why we have this issue. I think it happens since, I don't know since when it started happening in my computer. I don't know if it's the version of Unreal. Is it the material? What is it? Linear color. Let's see. It should have been here. Maybe you don't want the sharpen for this. It could be. I don't know. Let's see. Well, so far, so good. Okay, so let's just keep adding stuff. Remember, try to reuse as much as possible. And here I'm not really liking this blending. It could be the colors, but I think it's mostly the shapes. Yeah, something like that. And then we could try to put this one here. Now, when putting these assets, you want to make sure you know what is your composition here. And I'm already experienced with this, and I don't think too much about it. But when you create something like an environment, you should have like a focal point. Like for example, this is my focal point, so all this will guide into this. So you need to make sure your flow is right. For example, this mountain here, it could be like this, or not this one. Maybe this is not a very good example, but this one you could rotate like this, and then you can have something like here where you do have some contrasts. If you want. In my case, I want to play a lot with the verticality. So what I feel like it's lacking, I will go to my layer 2. I will just sculpt here. I will increase the brush size. And I will just flatten this out. And that's a little bit too much, so I will just go to flatten and put it like here. And I can just go to smooth too. Something like that. Yeah, this size works better. And I can go to the erosion and play with this. Just in case, this kind of detail is mostly when the player won't really notice that much. But you can just change the size and you can have a more natural look. But all these things don't matter if you just put a mesh there, then it doesn't really matter. So I like this. So what I can do, it's maybe I could put a lake here and something here, or just leave it like that. Another thing I can do is to play with the elevation here. I can just go back and put a ramp. And just like this, I can Check add. This is too much. Can do something like this. That's too much. Let's go back. Yeah, something like that. And I can just come here and just use the smooth. So maybe I can have like a big cliff here. Like I can just go ahead and duplicate this thing. Something like that. And you can just duplicate this thing like this. You can rotate around it if you feel like it's not right. Okay, let's finish off these parts. For example, we could have something like this. It's good. If I go here and try this one out. This one could be very good for mountains. Let's see if this one blends nicely. Go here and yeah, not bad. And do the same here and duplicate and rotate in the local axis. Something like that. And just put it in position. And then we can just go ahead and duplicate this one too. We can make it bigger for parts that were not going. That's perfectly normal. Something like that. And you can do the same here. You can go ahead and have this thing like this. And you can see the detail that it's creating this part. So just what is this? Oh, it's a tree. I don't want a tree now. Maybe something like this. Yeah, this one could be. I like it. Okay, but let's put the same things here. The rule is if no one notices it's repeated, you can repeat it. Great, and we can do the same here. This asset is great. When you find an asset like that, just repeat it over and over until you're tired of it. You can go here and not here. We can just go ahead and we can put something like that. And here we could we can start putting some assets here. Not this one. you want to have some shapes here. You notice that I already have some rhythm here where I can have something like this and something like this. We still need to close up some of these parts, but mostly I feel it's going well. So we can just add another one, not this one, sorry. This one we will leave it until the end. And try this once. Now we can go for the local. You can rotate. You can this side. Something like that. The problem with doing this is now the focal point is here. So what we can do is to put one of this. Let's try to duplicate it first. We can try to cover up this part. Something like that, maybe. You can. Here you can rotate this around to try some new shapes. I like this shape here. And then we can move this thing here to have like a kind of like a slope. Then I don't know if we can try to put this one like this. You can just move it here. The idea is that you want to have nice shapes here. So if you remove this, if you put that rock there and this is behind, you won't be able to see the silhouette. So that's where the challenge is. It's all about playing with shapes and this kind of stuff. You see that there are a lot of colors. We will deal with that later. Have a lot of colors in the rocks, which you may or not want, but usually you want to have color harmony in your scenes. So what you can do here, it's actually connect these two. I think you should put the RAM here. But just thinner. Yeah, something like that. But sorry, not here. You can put the ramp here and here. Yeah, here it's fine. Just need to move these things a little bit. And this one we can rotate 180 degrees. Just so that you don't see the same asset at the same rotation. There you go. And here we can go to the landscape and just smooth these areas like this. Yeah, something like that. Can do the same here. If you want to experience what it's like to be a level artist working for Ubisoft, this is pretty much your work day. You can do this for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 300 something days a year. Not for me, for sure. At this point, we just want to get into the flow of all this environment here. You want to have the medium shapes too. You don't just want to have big ones, you want to have medium ones. So here it will be a nice idea if you just drag this thing here and just put it like this. Oh, let's try out our game. For sure I will fall. So let's go to the player. Player start. There you go. Let's see how it feels like. It's totally different when you start playing your game. Yeah. Starting to take shape. It's in this point where you really want to put some music or just quit. I will put the camera. I don't think you need to see the UI that much. It's just drag and drop stuff. Now it's just not only drag and drop. When I'm doing this, I'm thinking about the shapes and the lining. And whenever I want to change shapes and lining, I'm constantly moving around my objects to see if I can put this object here, or it will be weird. If I remove this object, my composition actually looks better for me because I like this shape that I have here. That's very important. Okay. Oh, no wonder I was lagging. I had the static mesh editor open. When you go into detailing your environment, you can just go ahead and just have this kind of things here. Now, luckily for me, I did a lot of things other than doing level art in Ubisoft. Otherwise, I think like it's nice because you have like the theme. Like if you're working in Assassin's Creed, like you have like the story and everything, and you want to put some things here and there. I mean, it's nice. I won't lie to you. It's kind of fun from time to time. But for me, I always wanted to experiment with different stuff. Pretty much always. And this is why I got into indie game development, actually. Just so that I can keep experiencing different stuff. For me, indie games were much more rewarding, personally. I mean, that doesn't have to be the case for everyone, but it was for me. I don't know about you. Like, do you feel like you wanna go for a AAA company one day? That was definitely my dream when I started out. And it's a lot of effort. The good thing about joining a AAA company is that your skills are really sharp. So once you get there, like there is a lot of room for improvement, but it's a lot of grinding too. Consider if that's something you may or may not want. It's a lot of people like it, and if you do, you will go into bigger and bigger projects. Yeah, some people go full indie. That's okay. There is no answer for that. I feel like I want to have something here. I'm not super happy with the shape of this. Yeah, indie companies are fun, but there's also a lot more risk. They have much less budget. Uh, Typically, smaller companies are way more fun because you have more responsibility. So your actions matter much more. For example, in a big company, you can you only have to do like a small thing in order for it to work, and that's okay, but you won't feel as important unless you're like a director or something where your decisions are quite important. But in order to get there, you need to be a lot of years in the company and play a lot of the political games that you will find in any big companies, not just game companies. This is very common for game companies. But there is a lot of political game. There is a lot of Game of Thrones type of stuff. So just be aware of that. Whenever you put an object here, make sure to always put a smaller one next to it. It's a lot of it's very basic, but a lot of people fail to do this kind of thing many times. What do you mean by red weddings? By the way, I can just change the body ocean. It will give you a much more natural look. If you put 0 here, it's too perfect. Yeah, 1 looks like a nice number. Oh, I watched Game of Thrones, but I don't remember the concept of red weddings. Is it like getting married for political reasons or what? Uh, I use a lot of games for inspiration. A lot. And you know, a lot of people think uh, if you make games, it's different from playing games. That's true. But I find as an indie game developer, I find it much more useful to play games rather than in a big company. Just because it's more creative, and if you're making a game, you will have parts where you need to think and get inspired. And sometimes you're just playing a completely different game and like, hey, I didn't know I like I like to do I would like to do this too in my game, right? Or you analyze some games in a way that, for example, you could just find inspiration from. Apparently, I use a second layer. You can find inspiration from a lot of things. You don't know when. You're just playing something and something clicks, and it's just nice. For this kind of stuff, I might want to go procedural. Maybe. Well, we can try. If you want to go procedural here, you can just go to Edit Plugins, go to Procedural Mesh Component. Okay, and let's just create one really fast. It's the same I did the last live stream. Hopefully my memory don't fail me. So I will just go here, PCG, and put PCG raw line. Yeah, it will be safe. It will be safe. So I can put the spline, get spline data. The actor will all the actors, and the tag will be the spawner. I will just create a new actor here. New actor for, let's just put this one out of real time. This will be my spline. PP line spawner. And just go here and put tag. The tag will be spawner. There you go. Now you can get the data here. Spline sampler. You can put it here, and then you can project this into the landscape. Then you can, the projection, you don't want the rotation of the landscape. You can transform points here if you want, and then spawn mesh, static mesh spawner. Let's just spawn mesh for now. Which mesh? We will use this one. So let's just put it here. Let's try it out. Let's remove this. And let's just go for our spline. Just put the PCG here first. You just leave it there. And then you can go for the spawner. Let's see, where is our... Oh, I didn't add the spline. This spline component. There you go. Now you can see what's happening. Spline spawner. There you go. Now I can just move the thing here. Now what I can do is just increase the number of spawn points and the transform. So just go here. This is a little bit tricky. I have a second monitor, but I want to show you how it will look like. Transform points. Let's change the rotation first. Minus 180 to 180. That's the first thing. The next thing, scale 1, maybe. And also the spline sampler can increase the subdivisions for this, where you can just put more and more stuff. Okay. And also, you may want to put the projection to, yeah, maybe it can work, the projection for the landscape. Now I can just go ahead and because it's projecting in the landscape, I will have a lot of variation here. Now this is not usually what you want, so let's just go for transform points. Let's make it bigger again. Offset minimum z-axis minus 10. And the offset max minus 10. Maybe minus 30. Minus 30. Minus 80. Yeah, at this point it's much more obvious. So also the scale, you may want to scale in the y-axis. No, in the x-axis. Yeah, you want to scale this in the x-axis, so you can just put 2 here. And rotation, minimum rotation minus 10, maximum rotation 10 in x-axis, so you have some variation. And because this is projected into the landscape, I don't need to worry about where I put my splines. And just go back here, and that's it. I can add more. I can add more and more assets to this. Let's just say draw line. I don't know if that will work. Rocky ground. Yeah, okay, rocky ground. I think I already had this one. Let's try it out. Yeah, we have this one. Now this one is another color, but it will work. But the first thing I need to do is I will go to a flat surface here. I will put it here by pressing End, and I will go to the modeling tab, and I will just go to the deform with lattice. And what this will do is to make sure I don't have my plane floating when I spawn it. So I can just select all of this and just go down. And you can drag the middle one and go up. And just like that, you have some of it in the ground, but not all of it. So you can just move a little bit. This is the thing about the Megascans asset. They don't usually adapt to your current why you want to use them. So you need to modify them a little bit. Something like that. It should work fine. It's a little bit more just in case. Okay, accept. And now we can put it on our spline, on our procedural spline. Oh, the foam, we did it before. It's very simple. You just go to the material of the water and click enable caustics. Oh, the foam should be different, right? I'm not sure if this material has something, but water materials are quite complex, so just keep that in mind. So now that I have this, I can just go to my procedural mesh spawner, click plus, and then I can go to this one. Now I have it. And transform points, maybe -20 and -45 will be better. Yeah, much better. And I actually like the... Let's just... Spline sampler, does it have a seed value? There you go, seed. You would have more variation like this. And you can just make it bigger. Transform points, maybe 2.5. Something like this. Yeah, much better. And you see my points are like this, which is not what I want. This is why I'm not a super fan of this kind of stuff. Usually I will just go here and sculpt my landscape a little bit. And, you know, problem solve. It's nothing out of this world. And if you see more of those, like for example here, you can just sculpt here. And you can just smooth things out like this. Now that you have this, it may be a good idea to have a different texture for this. Because textures can really add a lot of differences. Or from this rocky ground, maybe the solution for this. So should be here, right? Rocky ground. Yeah. The first rocky ground. So let's go back to our landscape. Let's just duplicate this. This will be my layer 5. And my rocky ground will be this one. It's here, normal, mask. And then I will put the same thing I did here, but for the layer 4. And this will be my layer 4 height. And I will have a 5th layer here. This is the same stuff we just did before. I will be a height blend. Oh, sorry, should connect this one here. You can also use that in rename roads if you want. Apply. You scale your UV tiling by going to texture coordinate, multiply, and just multiply by the amount of that you want. Okay, so now that we have this, let's go to new level and open our live stream level again. And now let's go to our landscape and paint, and let's add another layer info for layer 5. There you go. Now let's see how it goes. Let's paint here a little bit. Is it the one that I had before? Rocky ground. Oh, it is the same one. No wonder. How about this one? I don't really like this one. But let's find another one in Quixel Bridge. I'm looking for something noisy, but not that one. Not that one. Maybe this. Maybe this can work. Repetitive grass material? I'm not sure what you mean. For repetition, you always try to break the repetition with something. So, in your case, if you want to make the grass less repetitive, add more variation. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, there you go. Let's try it out. Why I cannot paint here? Ah, I'm using the smooth. Idiot. There you go. Now I think it's not really something I want. Clear paint. Oh, yes. Let's paint here. So, not this one. Why layer 5 is like this? Oh, I'm using the same. Oh, no wonder. You see, this is what happens for a streaming that goes that long. This is why I don't want to make environments, because it takes so long, and I don't like to be seated here like for a long time. There you go. You can just go here and Okay, let's add another spline to this area. So let's go to live stream. This is already very cartoony, unless you go to Cancun. Tag spawner. And here it should be all the actors, right? All world actors. Ah, that's very interesting. I cannot have more than one spline here. That's the spawner. It should work. That's very interesting. Blind spawner. Yeah, that's very strange. Spawner. This is a spawner. Oh, select multiple. I guess. I guess not. Let's go back here. Oh, I need to put a force regen. I was pausing. Okay. Let's just grab a spline here. Let's just duplicate. That's the beauty of procedural stuff. There you go. Nice. Okay. I feel like I want to take a break from making this environment. Shall we have a part 2 in the future? Otherwise, I won't make it very good. I'm already more than 2 hours. Also, the reason I left Ubisoft is because I don't want to be more than 2 hours in one computer. So let's not go back to that. Next things I will add for this will be more mummy elements, more shapes, more stuff. I feel like we have covered a lot. We will continue this. I think tomorrow, maybe the same time. We will start from here. If you missed this video, don't worry. So I will put a compilation of all these steps together so you can create your own environment. Okay. So let's go with the questions. Hey, I've been learning UE and 3D art about a year. I want to make a prototype. I'm planning to do so. My question is that I start with character creation and animations before that. Is this wrong? There's nothing wrong. I mean, eventually you need to make the stuff, and everything takes time. Like learning how to animate, make characters, and all this stuff takes time. I started in 2012, so when I started, I was learning pretty much everything: animation, VFX, modeling, a little bit of programming, and at the end, I decided to specialize in environments. So you need to at least know what's happening, so that you can easily prototype your game. Now, if you want to prototype really fast, best way, marketplace assets, to save a lot of time, and use a lot of blueprints. Blueprints are I think the most important skill you can get, no matter where you specialize. Blueprints will always be there to help you. Like just now, I just created this thing procedurally, and I didn't place it by hand. So maybe I will do that to fill out these spaces. Who knows? Alejandro García, háblanos en español, bandido. Si hablo en español, probablemente la gente que sepa inglés no lo sabe. Y no solamente la gente de Estados Unidos o Canadá o esos países, sino que también en India también hablan inglés. No sabía que era uno de sus idiomas oficiales. Y bueno, es por eso que no hablo español acá. Pero sí hablo. And that's all the Spanish you will get from me here. Okay, one last round of questions before we wrap this up. It's been a long session, at least for my standards. Okay. Thank you everyone for coming. Remember, if you want to learn more, check our channel. We have a lot of tutorials, programming, creating an RTS, creating a racing game, creating a platform game, pretty much almost every game. And also we have tutorial for 3D modeling, creating environments, a lot of this stuff. And if you really want to learn more, make sure to check our website, where we teach you how to make a game from scratch, and we will publish it to Steam. You can start the first lesson for free now, so go check it out if that's something you're looking for. I will catch you up later. Okay, thank you everyone for coming. Don't worry, I will. Let's have the live stream tomorrow to continue this environment. There is a lot of things to finish here. We cannot leave it like this. This hurts my eyes. But, you know, good things takes time. So hopefully we have something here. We will continue to work on this. Bye.